Well, here's a couple of things that Donald Trump and his apparent boss, Elon Musk, do not understand. One, the president of the United States, Joe Biden, is a Democrat. Two, the United States Senate is controlled by Democrats and Democratic Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. Anyone who understands that knows why the budget extension bill negotiated by the Republican Speaker of the Republican House includes compromises with Democrats and Chuck Schumer. Elon Musk objected to those compromises in the bill, saying that any Republican who votes for it should be voted out of office. That's how he began his day. And only hours after that, after Elon Musk led the way, only then did Donald Trump catch up with his apparent boss, Elon Musk, and join in objecting to the bill. Republican Speaker Mike Johnson was with Donald Trump and Elon Musk while he was negotiating the bill. He was with them constantly while he was negotiating that bill. Mike Johnson has stayed as close to them as possible to try to make sure that what happened today would not happen. But you cannot stop chaos in the Republican Party. It would not have happened if Donald Trump were a rational person, but he's not. And so Donald Trump decided at the very last minute, after weeks of negotiation, to tell Mike Johnson and the Republicans what he wants in the bill, something he never said before today. Donald Trump has had every day since Election Day to tell them what he wanted in this bill, which is necessary to keep the government operating beyond this weekend. And Donald Trump has not said a word about it until today. The last time we had a government shutdown was because Donald Trump changed his mind just like this at the very last minute and demanded the impossible. Donald Trump defied a bipartisan agreement at the last minute while he was president, and that's how he got the government shutdown of December 2018. And the longest shutdowns the government's ever had. That was Donald Trump's record-setting shutdown. If the government goes into shutdown again, as it could this weekend, it will once again be Donald Trump's shutdown, this time with a major assist from his apparent boss, Elon Musk. So perhaps it could best be described as the Musk-Trump shutdown, especially when Elon Musk demonstrated his total ignorance of how government works today by saying no bills should be passed Congress until January 20th when Donald Trump takes office. None, zero. Funding for the government runs out this weekend. So Elon Musk, in that statement, is advocating for a complete government shutdown until the afternoon of January 20th, at least. But Donald Trump disagrees with Elon Musk about that, completely disagrees. Donald Trump actually wants Congress to pass a bill and pass it right away. And he finally told Republicans what he wants at 4:28 p.m. today, after Republicans had been working on this bill for weeks. Donald Trump wants Republicans to pass a bill to continue to fund the government, and Donald Trump now insists that Republicans pass a bill increasing the debt limit of the federal government. Also, Donald Trump knows that he intends to wildly increase the debt of the federal government with massive tax cuts to billionaires like Elon Musk. But Donald Trump wants Democrats and Joe Biden to increase the debt ceiling for him right now so that he can pass his tax cuts next year. Everyone in politics in Washington understands the debt ceiling game, but only Donald Trump is tactically stupid enough to say out loud, as he did today in writing, when he said this: increasing the debt ceiling is not great, but we'd rather do it on Biden's watch. That's it. That's his whole thing. He'd rather do it on Biden's watch. He needs to do it, but he doesn't want to do it. Let Joe Biden do it. Each party would, of course, rather the debt ceiling be raised by the other party, but they usually don't get to pick when the debt ceiling needs to be raised. In fact, the debt ceiling won't really need to be raised until June at the earliest. But Donald Trump actually wants the Democrats of the United States Senate to vote for a continuing spending bill that includes a debt ceiling increase. And then, after that bill passes the House, Donald Trump wants Joe Biden to sign that debt ceiling increase into law for Donald Trump so that Donald Trump can cut the taxes of billionaires like Elon Musk. In other words, Donald Trump is asking for the impossible. That's not going to happen. Asking for the impossible is something he's done before with Congress, and he has always lost when he's asked for the impossible, always. Yes, he can get tax cuts through the Republican Congress because that's easy, but he's never gotten anything difficult. Never once through Congress. Donald Trump added this line about the debt ceiling. If Democrats won't cooperate on the debt ceiling now, what makes anyone think they would do it in June during our administration? Now, why would you need Democrats to vote for anything during the Trump administration? Republicans are going to control the House of Representatives. Republicans are going to control the Senate by very tiny margins. And Donald Trump knows that he will not be able to get every Republican in the House and every Republican in the Senate to vote for a debt ceiling increase next year, even though Donald Trump knows he needs one. And so he actually now publicly calls on Democrats to do it for him today. Raising the debt ceiling beyond the end of Joe Biden's administration is one of the brilliant tactical accomplishments of President Biden as a negotiator with Congress. A Republican House of Representatives agreed to do that for Joe Biden. We reported on that negotiation in detail on this program. It was one of the stunning negotiating triumphs of President Biden and his budget staff that was not well understood at the time, but Donald Trump really understands it tonight for the first time. Donald Trump understands that Joe Biden brilliantly extended the debt ceiling beyond the end of his own term in the presidency in such a way that Donald Trump will not be able to cut taxes for billionaires next year without a debt ceiling increase. Donald Trump's sudden panic today about the debt ceiling is because Donald Trump only realized today how brilliantly Joe Biden boxed him in on the debt ceiling. And now Donald Trump is begging Joe Biden to let him out of the box Joe Biden created. Poor little Mike Johnson thought that the crazy people around him were okay with what he was negotiating.
I was communicating with Elon last night. Elon and Vivek and I are on a text chain together, and I was explaining to them the background of this. And Vivek and I talked last night about almost midnight, and he said, look, I get it. He said, we understand you're in an impossible position. Everybody knows that. Remember, guys, we still have just a razor-thin margin of Republicans, so any bill has to have Democrat votes. They understand the situation. They said, it's not directed to you, Mr. Speaker, but we don't like the spending. I said, guess what, fellas? I don't either.
After Donald Trump desperately, in effect, today, publicly begged Joe Biden and the Senate's Democratic Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and the House Democratic Leader Hakeem Jeffries to let him out of the debt ceiling box by creating an entire new bill to replace the bipartisan bill that Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries negotiated with Mike Johnson. Congressman Jeffries said this.
Good evening, everyone. House Republicans, House Democrats, Senate Republicans, and Senate Democrats reached a bipartisan agreement to fund the government, keep it open, and meet the needs of the American people. We reached a bipartisan agreement to provide disaster assistance to everyday Americans whose lives have been upended and turned upside down as a result of hurricanes, tornadoes, wildfires, floods, and other types of extreme weather events. We reached a bipartisan agreement to meet the needs of the American people and provide assistance to farmers, families, children, seniors, veterans, men and women in uniform, and working class Americans. House Republicans have now unilaterally decided to break a bipartisan agreement that they made. House Republicans have been ordered to shut down the government and hurt everyday Americans all across this country. House Republicans will now own any harm that is visited upon the American people that results from a government shutdown or worse. An agreement is an agreement. It was bipartisan, and there is nothing more to say.
An agreement is an agreement until Elon Musk and Donald Trump decide to get involved. Before the explosion of the Musk-Trump volcano in the House of Representatives today, the big news of the day in the House was that the House Ethics Committee voted to release the committee's report on its investigation of former Congressman Matt Gaetz and allegations that included him paying young women and girls under the age of consent for sex. The committee report is expected to be released only after the House of Representatives finishes voting on a budget agreement.